Hi guys, hope you're well. Today we're going to do another beaded bracelet. First of all, can I just say thank you so much for appreciating my other jewellery videos. What I'm trying to do is show you some different techniques in jewellery making that I like to do, but that you can incorporate your clay pieces within. That was the whole point of me starting this make along series, and if you haven't seen any before, just go back and have a look at the playlist. I did a nice amethyst lariat. I've done a couple of wrap bracelets, one using polymer clay, extruded beads, so there's a few ideas out there. Oh, and I did a little extra video with some of the leftover beads with some wire wrapped earrings and the such. So yeah, go and have a look, and thank you so much for your support. So today, now I'm not using clay bead, guys. I don't make a lot of clay beads, as you know, so I'm just going to use some beads that I've had left over from different projects. So I've got some nice different toned greened ones here. I've got some amber and brown coloured ones here. I'm going to be using this 2mm, it's actually a leather tan coloured cord as my main cord. I've got some lightish brown beading thread. This is quite a fine thread, but it's very strong. It's the it's the Beadlon one. I didn't keep the packet, sorry. And I've just got, now for this particular bracelet, the way we're going to do it is a little bit different than the others. So you could use a button that has 2 holes in. I just got that out to show you. But I'm just going to use a wooden button that I've got because I thought it would match in nice, and actually tinted it with a little bit of alcohol ink, and I've put a little bit of Renaissance wax on just to protect it. So, and you'll need a bit of glue for your knots, and that's all you're going to need, guys. I put out on my beading tray 21 inches worth. We're going to do a 3 wrap, so I've got about, well, just over 21 inches worth of beads to do my bracelet. It depends on how many wraps you want. I would say 6.5 inches per wrap is probably enough, but give yourself a few extra just in case you want it a bit looser. Or I've got extremely skinny wrists, some people have got wider wrists, you know, so just take that into consideration while you're beading. And I'm just going to use my beading board again. As I've said before, guys, if you haven't got a beading board, you could tape your cords down to your desk. I've seen some people use, you know, the clipboards and trap the cord under a clipboard. You could use some bulldog clips and clip it to a bit of board. There's, you know, lots of different ways you can do it if you haven't got a bracelet board like I've got. Okay, I'll pop these back to one side. I shall pull some of this off. Now, I'm always doing it, I never leave myself enough thread, so I'm really gonna overcut some of this. So let me think, a 21 inches doubled, that's 50. I'll probably cut off about 60 inches, maybe a bit more, guys. Maybe 70 to be on the safe side. This is a really quick wrap bracelet. We're just going to do single beads in a line, and it'll just wrap nicely. Again, guys, you can use all your clay beads if that's your thing. And I'll go and get my cords pulled off, and I'll see you in a minute. See you in a minute. Hi guys, okay, I'm ready. Just forgot to mention, if you're using a fine thread, a couple of beading needles really does help. they're really cheap. I like the ones that have got, they're just like a spun of wire, and that hoop collapses as you push it through your beads. Something else to remember as well is make sure when if you're mixing beads up like I am, different sizes, just make sure that the hole in your first and last bead are big enough to get a few passes of your threading cord through. Okay, so from the middle of my cord I've pulled off about 80 inches, guys, which is total overkill to be fair, but I don't want to run short. So there's the middle of my cord, and I'm just going to thread my button on, get it to that middle point. This is where we're doing this one a bit different, guys, and then we're just going to tie a knot in that end and just get it as snug to your button as you can. If you've used a hold button, just do the same on the back. Just tie yourself a nice little knot, nice and tidy, and get it nice and tight. So there we go, we've got our button, and I'll just pop that way. We've got our button and we've got a nice tidy knot tied up against the shank or the back of the holes. I'll just turn this board around just to make it a bit easier, and on this one I'm not going to pin it to the top. I'm just going to put a pin in to hold that at the top like so, because I need to get a bead right up there. And as usual, I'm just going to trap my cards in the bottom of my board. Again, you could pin them, take them down to your desk. It just helps, guys, I think, if they're taut. Okay, good to go. So I'll start off with a nice green one, I think, and it's just as we did before, guys. Just get your thread, now with this it's a bit easier with smaller beads. You don't have to position them as perfectly, so you can either tie off, bring you down, tie off up here as we've done before with a small knot, and then pop your bead on, or you could actually thread your bead on straight away, which is what I'm going to do. So I'll just prep my cord. I'll just feed this through this first bead first and get it to the middle of my threads. Come on, middle. Got ya. I'll just pop that there a second, guys. I'm just going to put my beading needles on to help me. Yeah, my beading needles. My brain's just not working today. There's one. Where's my other end? Got ya. I'm always fiddling the first bead, aren't I, guys? Sorry, it's just the way I work. Oh, let's get that one threaded on. Okay, so all I'm going to do to secure this bead is, now remember we need our thread to be under, So I'm just going to take that beading needle under the thread, under the cord, and I'm just going to wrap it twice. If I can get that beading needle underneath, that is, so that I can pull it. Oh, I've bent it now. So that I can pull it tight. Once it's in place, I'll just do the other side. Then I know I've got it tight. Oh. So I'm just going to go under, and then I'm just going to go under again, just to secure that top bead in there. Let's get that moved up. So I always struggle with this for speed, guys, but once I've got it in and it's tight, come on, get up there, everything else seems to fall into place quite nicely. So I'll just get that nice and snug and trapped as high as I can get it, and there we go, we're ready now to do, I'll just straighten my other needle out. We're ready now to do all our beads. Let me just straighten my thread out, I've got a bit tangled. Okay, so I'm just going to randomly pick beads, but keep them like green, brown, green, brown, and as we've done before, guys, you go over the cord, through the bead, under the cord, oop, over the cord, through the bead, and under the cord, and then you just pull those two up next to your other bead like so. Then what have we got? Let's go for one of these. I love doing these with bits of leftover beads because you get a really lovely, it's kind of BoHo look, isn't it, dependent on the beads you're using. So over the cord, through and under for that one, and back again. It's a bit fiddly when you first start because you've got so much cord, even though I've doubled it over on my needle. And there's our next bead. I just want him to sit a bit nicer in there. Oh, and that one's decided to pop out. Get in. I'm just going to make sure that they're nice and tight. And then another brown. Let's go for this one. And I'll do as I normally do, guys. I'll do a few with you because I'm just going to show you you can incorporate some smaller beads as well. So over, through and under. Over, through and under. Get that pulled nice and tight. Okay, I'll do another green one now. Let's have a look. What have I not used? One of these. Some of these are a bit bluey green, so it's quite a nice contrast. So over, through the bead, under, And same again, over through the bead and under, and just keep smudging your beads up and making sure that that cord is nice and tight, guys. And like I say, once your cord's full, they sit really nicely. Okay, I think what I'll do now is I'll show you how you can insert some different beads. So I've got these two, all these beads are 10mm beads, by the way, guys. These are probably 4 or maybe a 6, and I've also got some of these, and I'm going to put a little spacer in between those just to make it up. So I'll do these ones next. So again, I've got, I know I'm going to come over, guys, so I'm just going to thread that bead, that little spacer bead, and that bead on, bring them down and pop them there. Oh, and then the same again through now. I'm just going to bring, oh, and that's got to be, trust me, I've not gone under. I know I'm getting my threads all tangled. There we go. Sorry guys, that needs to be under. I'd forgot to tuck it under. And now we could take our other needle, we can go through all 3 of those beads and come out under the other side of that cord. So you can incorporate some of your smaller beads in as well. They look kind of cute, don't they? Now let's pop one of these in. And again, different type of bead. This is just a tube bead, but as I've said before, this is a great way to use up all those little bits and bobs of beads that you might have left over from other projects. Especially if, you know, obviously I don't suppose it does matter if they match or not. I'm a bit colour matchy myself, so that's why I've used these. And there we go. See, don't they look cute? 1 2 3 4 5. I've done that every 6 beads, but I probably won't keep it up. Right, I'll do one more. Let's pop this. I've got one cream one. Let's pop this one in, and then I'll speed it up, guys. Now you've got the gist. It's exactly the same as the other bracelets. It's just you're using a different type of bead. So over, through, under, oh, get on that side, over, through, under. There. Now I don't think I may run out of thread. If I get short of thread, I'll just come and show you how to fasten your thread off, but I'll just speed this up now and get all my beads popped in. So I'll see you in a sec. Okay guys, my thread's getting a bit short on one side, so I will just change thread with you. Okay. Now, oh, I've just taken my beading needle off and I didn't mean to. bear with me. Let's just, oh, just thread this back on and thread this back on. Oh, do you know these beading needles are, I love them, but they're so fiddly because they're so fine. Okay, so I'm just going to go through one way and go through the other way, just to make sure that that doesn't slip, and then I'm going to go under to run around that thread again, this cord again, back through, and that one's coming over, so I'll make this one come under. So I've just gone back through the bead again to make sure that that's locked in place, and then I've just brought one thread back over, so one thread's over and one thread's under, and we're just going to do surgeon's knot. Now I think I do a surgeon's knot back to front, but I prefer it, so I just do an overhand knot, you know, a normal knot like so, and then I do my surgeon's bit, which is to pass the thread twice. Oh, if I can do it. So got my thread, made a loop, gonna pass that bit of thread, oh, once, twice, and pull that tight. Now again, you could pass your threads through and snip them, or you could just snip them off close. I think for this one I'll pass them both through because I haven't done that with you, have I? So we'll put a spot of glue on this knot, just to be on the safe side. But what I'll do is I'll just pass my threads back through that bead, or maybe not. One's gone through and one hasn't. I must have dropped it out of my needle. Come on. So we'll just pass those threads through. Oh, I've dropped it again. What is going on? It's because it's so short. Let's just cheat. I'll just press that through that way and we'll cheat. Okay, so I've just pulled those threads through, and then I'll just lift them out the way of my others. Oh, and snip them so they just hide in the bead nice and bonny. And as I've said, I won't do it now guys because it has to dry, but I will put just a tiny dab of glue on that knot later. So we've got a fair bit done now, haven't we? Let's have a see. We've got about 14 inches. Yep, so we've just got about another 7 inches to do guys, and then we'll be finished. So I will cast my thread back on for you so you can see me do it. And again, there's a few different ways guys, people do this different ways. I do it different ways for different beads. You know, just do what suits you. So what I'm going to do is put my thread through this top bead and act as if I'm just coming from that bead again to my next bead, rather than tying a knot. So there's my next bit. Let's get rid of these scraps of thread. I'll just pull off a decent arm's length. That should be plenty. Oh, these flipping bead needles will be the death of me. I can't pick them up. And then if I drop them on the floor I never see them again. Okay, just going to thread one end of my thread through the bead needle. Come on. And I'm just going to pass my thread through the bead like so. Oop. Just need to find the middle, guys. Get my other bead needle on. We're not supposed to be threading this bead, are we? We're supposed to be threading the other bead. Okay, ignore me. Let me just make sure they're about equal length. I'll just find the middle of my threads. Okay, ignore the fact that I've threaded that through there. It isn't really going to matter much. I'm just going to thread through and then pass it under. As if we were just doing our normal thing. Let me get this blinking bead off here. Sorry guys. I bet you're all shouting at the I bet you shout at the screen a lot with me, don't you? When I can't remember the name of things. Okay, so we've gone through and under, and then I'm going to wrap this end. Let me get this. Yeah, I've got to go under, haven't I? So I'm just going to wrap this end under, and then I'm going to wrap it once more to lock it in. Hope that makes sense. I'll talk you through it again. Okay, so this bead was already on. What we've done is take our thread through, then I've gone one way and then the other, one way to bring a thread through the bead, then I've just wrapped it twice around this other cord, so then that bead's acted like a stopper and we can just carry on rather than tying a knot. Okay, so through. Oh, that's probably not helping, is it? I've not got my bottom cords taut. Okay, through and under. Over, through and under, and there we go. Our next bead is locked into position. Right guys, I'll speed it up again. I've got about another 7 inches to do. In fact, no, I'll speed it up. I'll just because it's only like 3 seconds of video if it's sped up, isn't it? I'll speed it up from this point. And then I'll come back and finish these ends with you. Okie dokie. Okay guys, I've got lots of lots of beads on now, so we're just going to finish this end off, and I'm just going to repeat by going through the bead again, just over, under, over, under. Just making sure that them threads are tight, and seeing as I've got a lot of thread on my ends, I'm just going to do that again. So over, through, under, just to lock this bead really guys against the cord, so I know it's nice and tight. this one, I'm just going to go through the bead and bring it to this side over the top of the cord. Just going to snip them a bit shorter so they're easier to manage. And again, just a normal knot, and then my surgeon's knot. Oh, 1, 2, and then I'll just twist them together. Where's my beading needle? Grab a beading needle. Again, I'll put a spot of glue on that, guys. Let's grab my beading needle. Oh, I need it to come, there we go. Pull them cut, done it again. Get in, pesky thread. Pull them through cords through, make sure they're nice and snug, and just snip them off. Okay, so we've got our bracelet. Let me just put all these bits to one side, and I don't accidentally drop anything. Beading needles safe, and they don't catch on my dressing gown. Okay, so we've got, I'm just running my fingers down the beads, guys. Oh, and now they're stuck in my mat. Get out. So now we've got this lovely look with our beads, all nice and pretty. And what we're going to do on this end is, let me just check how much I need. So that's, oh, and I haven't quite done enough beads, guys. Look, see, I told you I'm rubbish at measuring, aren't I? I need at least to there. So I'm just going to hold that, guys. Sorry, I do this all the time, just when I'm doing my own jewellery, so I don't think it's just, you know, stupidity. Well, it is a bit of stupidity. 2. I have got a couple of beads left, so I hadn't really realised. How many would I need? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 6. I just need to add 6 beads, guys, just to make it that little bit longer. I'll go and add these and I'll be back in a sec, and then I'll tell you how many beads I've put on, then you know, because I'm a bit pants. Right, I'll just add a few more beads to this. It's a good job I like beading, isn't it? I'll add a few more. I'll be back in a second. Hi guys, okay, so I added a few more beads. So I have now got just beads. I've got 14, 21 inches worth of beads, which to be fair, I thought I'd counted, but it could just be that where I've put these in, it's shrunk my number down. But yeah, I've used 21 inches worth of beads. Okay, so all we're going to do now, dead simple now, because we've already put our button on the other end, we're going to just overhand knot and try and keep your cords from twisting, and then you get a pretty knot. Oh, I've got my finger stuck. we're just going to do a nice a nice knot at this end and get it as far up to those beads as you can. Just let me, there's me saying get pretty knots, and I've twisted mine. There we go, nice knot. Now what I like to do is leave space big enough for your button, tie another knot, let me just get that down a bit. I need to make sure that my button will fit through that gap. Oh, go on, go in, and then I'll just get my knot as close to that as possible. And then I do another of the same sort of gap. Just gives people the option to have it a bit tighter or a bit looser, you know, dependent on how they want to wear it. Let's get that down a bit, make sure my button will fit in. Oh, get in. Yes, perfect. Let's get that snugly down there, get that knot nice and tight. Okay, now couple of options. You could just cut these tails off if you so wish, or if you've got beads big enough, holes big enough, you can slide a couple of extra beads on and have a bit of a dangle. I was actually hoping, but I don't think they will. These little smaller beads, I think they're just, oh, done it. I'm going to put these little tiny beads on the end, just for a bit of something. You could add a little charm with a jump ring maybe. You know, there's lots of different things you can do on the cord ends, guys. So I've just got them. I'm going to get them up as far as I can and then tie a little knot to stop it slipping. So I'll do one there, get that nice and tight, and then I can snip that. And I like doing them at different lengths, so I'll do another one about there. I don't want it too long. Pull that knot nice and tight again. You could put a tiny dab of glue on your knots if you wish, guys. I'm using leather, so it doesn't tend to budge. So I've got a couple of little beads on the end of mine just to finish it off, and I'm just going to wrap it around my hand because I might find it easier to fasten that way. Oh, so that I can show you. That goes up there, that goes there. I'll fasten it on that one, so our button pops on like so, and there's our lovely wrap bracelet. I will take some nice pictures, guys. I may add a bit more thread to that end one. You see how it's just popping through. I should have passed it through a couple of times, so I think I will just pop a little bit more thread through that and tie it off just to stop it swinging. But there we go, guys, and I do love having this mix of beads. They just look really nice together, don't they? All these different colours. You could even do the chakra colours and stuff, couldn't you? You know, if you've got certain colours of beads. But there we go, guys. Just let me undo this button. then I can put it out straight. There's our lovely wrap bracelet, using your odds and sods of beads if you so wish, using your polymer clay beads if you so wish, but just something a bit different again. Okay guys, I'll leave it there. Thanks ever so much for watching, and for letting me know that you enjoy these extra jewellery videos, and I'll see you all in the next one, guys. See you soon. Bye.